All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going over fights that nobody expected to be decisions in 2026. These are the parlay busters, and in KO, and in sub, and in finish, and it never happened. So let's get straight into it. First one, we had this weekend Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. This was supposed to be the double KO special. Both guys are very chinny. You have Johnny Walker, been chinned 6 times, I think, in his career, 4 in the UFC. Dominic Reyes, 4 times in his career, 4 in the UFC, and one of them being a jab from Ryan Spann. In the fight before, just got his ass chinned by the current champ, Carlos Oberg. This was honestly the only low light of UFC 327, and it kind of stinks because nobody expected it to be this. Luckily, right after we got Blades versus Hockett, fucking generational fight. But the crowd absolutely hated this one. They were chanting, "This is bullshit." Like they were booing. They had their lights turned on, trying to do some fun stuff. But honestly, their performances made a bit of sense. Looking back at their last fights, Walker versus Minyang, he kind of won against a power puncher who wins in the first round usually by staying on the outside, using his kicks. And I mean, he won because fucking Minyang couldn't check kicks. That's something Dominic Reyes is. He's a southpaw, and he also has way more experience in this game. I don't think he's just a fucking blockhead. And also Reyes versus Oberg. Reyes fighting a guy who fights in the outside with kicks and stuff and just maintains distance, which is what Johnny Walker was doing. Dominic Reyes came in like a turd and got knocked the fuck out. Also, what was funny is like at the end of the first round, Dominic Reyes was standing there like this, like Poetan. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna go get that head. Nah, it's kind of the same shit. At least he was the only person to really throw like head punches in this fight. Johnny Walker was just pissing me off, like just throwing kicks and shit. Couple spinny little whatever, but I don't know, bullshit fights. And also, I wonder how many people lost money on this fight ending by KO. Because if you look at the topology, obviously it's not the whole spectrum of people who watch the sport and bet on the sport, but that's like over 95% certainty that this fight would end by finish, whoever it was. So I'm sure so many people put this in their parlays, because there's certain props in. I'm not a betting channel. I don't like to talk about betting too much, but it's just funny with this because I know there's people who do parlays and they have like their locks, you could say, on multiple slips, and I'm sure this was a lock for most people, and it fucked up everything for them. So next up, we got Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje. A bit more people predicting this to go to decision, but I felt everyone picked either Paddy by easy sub because we've seen Justin get subbed multiple times, especially in title fights and stuff, and by superior grapplers, because Paddy does have dangerous grappling, but it was just a wrestling that he doesn't have, and we saw that here. Or they were picking Gaethje to get a quick or late KO. I think it was like quick because he's just gonna come out there and just chin Paddy, or it's gonna be late because Paddy showed bad cardio in the Ferguson fight, for instance. I think it was like the 3rd round, he looked gassed, and Ferguson was tagging him up, and so like Gaethje's been 5 rounds before at a decent pace. And if he survives the grappling, Paddy probably gets tired and chins him. That's what I thought. That was my pick, that Paddy would get tired. Paddy also had a shit resume, Like, Michael Chandler was his best friend. He didn't even look crazy good in that. Looked like he was very open, backing up. His wrestling didn't look anything crazy. He was getting taken down. But it was just low IQ from Chandler there. But both these guys are lambs to a slaughter for Ilya, honestly. That's what it showed. It was a great scrap. One of my favorite fights of the year. One of my favorites recently. Not just this year, but include 2025 and stuff. But these guys look like shit. Like Gaethje, very hittable. No defense. I know he had staff going into this. Paddy just looked, as expected, hittable. Good chin, great chin, honestly. But his wrestling sucked as expected. But these guys should have been like Armin in here, really, on one end, whether it was versus Gaethje or Pimblett. I would have been fine with either one. And I'm pretty sure the UFC, their first choice was to do Paddy versus Ilya. And the second choice was Max Charles. And then the third choice was this. So it just sucks because we could have been getting Armin versus Ilya at the White House or just in Spain, whatever maybe. But fucking now it's Justin Gaethje on the White House lawn getting just slaughtered. That's what's going to happen. Next up, we got Tyson Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa at UFC 325. This one, someone just posted a fluke KO. Like, it was supposed to be a first round knockout. Tuivasa, heavy hands. He's been knocked out himself a few times. He's went to a few decisions, a couple, I should say. But most of the time it's knockout. He's a fucking those big fat Aussies, New Zealand type of guy, Kiwi guys, just throws big haymakers and chins people. And Teixeira had never been out of the first round. He just, in his 2 UFC fights, it was Justin Tafa, but he did, knee him, elbow him, get him out of there in 30 seconds. And then got knocked out by Derek Lewis in 30 seconds by an overhand. So I was like, either one or the other. It's either he's getting knocked out or he's going to knock him out. And any image of Tai Tuivasa leading up to this, obviously not close to fight week, but before that was like him just blobbing around like extra, like 400-500 pounds it looked like he was. And I met him in Miami last year. I guess it was 10 months before the fight. But geez, dude, he looked huge and he was just high as fuck. Like, cool dude. I fuck with him. But I don't know, he didn't look in any like headspace to be fighting. He was promoting his weed brand, I think it was, or whatever, some shit. Seemed to be doing pretty good. I mean, you have a good marketing strategy with Tai Tuivasa. But the fight itself was pretty sloppy, of course. It was two guys who don't have a lot of skill or cardio. It wasn't like a Blades or Hackett or another fight we'll get to later, Vitor Petrino and Steven Asplin. It wasn't like one of those where there's a bit more skill, a bit more cardio in there. Nah, this was some shit, dude. But Tai Tuivasa is fighting Sean Sheriff next. Easy win for him, it should be. And Tatlin Teixeira is getting fed to Sergey Pavlovich, number 3 ranked, I think, in this division. So he's getting fucked. I somehow that fight could go on there because I don't think Sergey Pavlovich is going to take that fight to a decision. He's been a decision ever since the Tom Aspinall KO. I think it's been straight decisions for him, whether it's a win or a loss. So that could end up on this part 2 if I do one of those later this year. But I don't know. I don't think Tatlin Teixeira will survive those big shots. Even Waldo Cortez Acosta was like, Sergey Pavlovich was still throwing big shots in that fight. Waldo just has a crazy chin, but I think he'll take out Teixeira. Now next up, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. As you can see, there's a decent number of people, probably like 20-25% of people picking Holloway by decision. I'd say overall in the prediction, that's like maybe like 10-15%. So not a lot of people predicting this to go to decision, especially if Charles was winning. As you can see, it's a very small margin. But the narratives, I feel, overall, were overrating Max's power, underrating Charles' chin, which is both things I did, and mentioning how Max has never faced an elite grappler wrestler, which seems to be correct. He faced Ilya, Volk, but they didn't really stick to the wrestling, and they're not grappling heavy like Charles or as good as Charles in the grappling. Brian Ortega, who has great jiu-jitsu, but not a wrestler at all. I saw a lot of quick sub or volume KO picks. I feel like it was either Charles going to get him down, sub him easy, or Max Holloway just going to piece him up for a while, defend the takedowns, and just get the wear on him kind of, and then get a knockout like that. And looking at some of their previous fights, this wasn't super surprising when I actually think back about it. When you look at the Ilya fight with Max, he was getting picked up and slammed by Ilya, who's a smaller guy. Yes, he did fare with Charles grappling pretty easily, but it still looked like Charles was having a decent way in the strength department of that fight, but it was just the technique of Ilya was able to allow him to survive and reverse the takedown. And then Charles' last fight versus Gamrot, we saw an improved takedown threat of Charles Oliveira. Picked up Gamrot, slammed him on the ground, got the rear naked choke. That's what he did. He kind of got the body lock against Gamrot. He did that against Max. He would get the body lock and just fucking slam him. Max looked weak, yes, in that department. Yes, he's moving up from featherweight. He did look size-wise pretty similar, but it's just, I guess, Charles did look a little bit bigger. He's a huge lightweight. He's 5'10", 5'11", and cuts a shit ton of weight, and he's just strong. He's a really strong, big guy, and we saw that here. But Max also showed really, really good sub defense. He had Charles on his back for basically all 5 rounds and never got subbed, which was very... It was even I think Charles had a face crank early on. That was impressive that Holloway got out of that one. Next up, we have Carlos Leal versus Chidi Njokuani. Looking back at the Tapology, I'm kind of surprised there was this many people picking decision. I felt it was going to be a knockout. I think I picked Njokuani because Carlos Leal's last fight kind of came in like a dumbass. literally just like stalking Muslim Salikov, but like no setups, no footwork, no head movement, no nothing. Like just walked to him and got chinned. So both guys are a little bit reckless at times, and they do have a decent amount of power on both sides. Like Carlos Leal, he's a marauder. Chidin Jaquani has the kicks. He's just long and rangy. He has a lot of knockouts in his record. I think he has like 15 out of 25 wins by knockout. And even with the way the fight was going, I think they hurt each other a few times. I'm like, there's no way this reaches a decision. Like first round, partially through the second round, I was like, no way this reaches a decision. But it ended up going to decision. It was a great scrap. One of the best fights of the year so far. And it wasn't like super like crazy, like wow, no way this went to decision, but it was the one where I felt like most people were picking this fight to end by KO on either side. It was pretty even, 59 to 41. But yeah, great scrap here, and I don't think either of them have a fight booked yet. So, but it was a very close fight as well. Next up, Vitor Petrino versus Steven Aspin. We talked about this earlier, or I mentioned it earlier. Obviously, a little bit of a decent margin for decision, but I felt like Vitor has shown finishing potential on both the feet and with his jiu-jitsu, and Aspin lacked head movement and was subbed by Denzel Freeman, I think like a year and a half before, or 2 years before to this fight. Denzel Freeman, we know, in January got killed by Josh Hockett, middle finger KO. And also, I think the year and a half part what I was saying was someone in LFA had Aspin on his back or something and was ground and pound. Like a really, really bad situation for him. So I felt like that was where people were picking Vitor. It was either just chin him early or sub him early. And then people picking Aspin, as you can see, it's a 50-50 split on Tapology. He's Maximum Holloway. He showed Sean Chair fight. Crazy cardio and output for a heavyweight. And I feel like he was picked to get a late TKO after Vitor gassed. Because Vitor, his previous fight with Thomas Peterson, who is Steve Aspin's teammate, the pace wasn't too high as this fight, and he did gas. He looked like he was slowing down, but this fight, both guys showed improvements in their weaknesses and turned it into one of the best fights of the year. Aspin showed really good takedown defense, was like shucking off Vitor Petrino pretty easily, and Vitor Petrino showed increased cardio, like much better than I expected as well. I thought this fight went on, I was like, oh shit, because I picked Vitor. I was like, this is looking a little shaky, but got it done. And Vitor even got dropped in the first and then wobbled in the third, and he still, like, even with that damage, was able to tough it out to a decision. And this was a 6 scrap. And one thing that kind of sucks about this loss is that on Aspin's side, we're not getting the Hockey matchup probably anytime soon, because I think Hockey's going to stay up in that range. I think Hockey beats most guys. He could have close fights with like a Waldo, a Volkov, but I think he'll lose to like a Pavlovich, a Gon, a Pereira, Aspinall. But I think a lot of those guys up top, like a Spivak, Rizvan Kuniev would be a close fight. Curtis Blades, he just beat him. So I think Josh Hockey's going to stay up in that like top 6 range. He's number 5 ranked today. And I think Steven Aspin he'll be in the rankings, I think. Like maybe 13, 14, 15, but I'm curious to see if he breaks into that upper echelon of heavyweight, even though it's not too difficult to do, but we'll see. Because they have beef, and then, heavyweight needs some storylines. Of course, you have Josh Hockey, just him in general. His storyline is great. Even if you like it or not, it's good for the sport. His character, his fight that he just put on, and even against Denzel Freeman, that was a fun fight. Like middle finger KO, that was cool. So hopefully you get that one day, but I'm not sure. And it seems like Josh Hockey is just a good deal better than him. Next up, we have Ante Delija versus Sergey Spivak. Ante Delija came into the UFC coming off the easy KO versus Tybura, which was disgusting, and the near KO over Waldo, while also looking athletic and fast for a heavyweight. Yes, the Waldo fight, he did get knocked out, but he almost had a knockout. He looks like someone who's going to barrel roll you and just like really, like when he's up against the fence against you, he really just doesn't let up. Like, it's almost a mismatch in terms of people picking Delija. Sergey had been bulldozed by Almeida on the feet like a year prior, but his boxing kind of surprised folks. I underrated a little bit. His boxing did look good here. So, I think it was decently unexpected for most people that this fight was going to go to decision. As you can see, people thought Delija was just going to fucking bulldoze him. It seemed like I thought Delija, I picked him by round 1 knockout, I think. So, didn't go that way. he had a couple chances, I think, to against Spivak to get him up against a fence and, you know, do his little flurry that he does where he's very good there. He kind of just doesn't let up. But Spivak looked good. He was jabbing well. His boxing looked good, head movement. He looked faster than I remember for some reason. But yeah, good fight. It was a good fight too, and he ended up losing as well. Next up, we're into the mismatches section of this, where it's a prospect. You expect him to just fucking go out, knock this guy out in the first round, but it didn't happen. First up, we have Atiba Gautier versus Andrei Pulyaev. Atiba Gautier came in middleweight Ngannou, world-beating Can Crusher, and left as a fraud. I don't agree with that, but that's what the narrative was, that he's a fraud. I don't think it was a fraud check. He still won pretty convincingly, in my opinion. Yes, there was a couple close rounds. Like round 2 was decently close, but I remember Atiba doing better there. Round 3 could have went to Pulyaev, if I'm not mistaken, the kicks and stuff. But a lot of things that are like for Gautier that are fixable. You know, like being able to cut out the cage, setting up your strikes better. He's still very young, not super experienced. His cardio too, but he's just a fucking ball of muscle, and he wings on a lot of punches, like where he's just throwing like with his crazy heat. And Andre is actually pretty decent on the outside, and he didn't get KO'd by COD, which I picked him to get knocked out there. But he was a little bit bullied in that fight. That's kind of why I thought Gautier was able to, you know, just beat on him. And he kind of did. He did knock him down pretty bad a couple times in the first round. But Atiba Gautier is now fighting Ozzy Diaz. I think he's going to get like 1 or 2 more cans. And then they're going to give him like another step up. Or just a real step up. In my opinion, yes, this was a step up from his previous opponents, but not like anything crazy like he could really lose to. Maybe someone like their own power. Or someone who's not scared of his power. Or someone who has a very heavy grappling and wrestling threat. Along with some striking. So it's not just like, oh, I don't need to worry about the striking. Just shuck off the takedowns and then strike. Something like that, you know? Next up, we have Danilo Donchenko versus Alex Morono. I saw a lot of people calling Danilo a welterweight Yuri after his marauding performance at 319 versus Rodrigo Senzenato, I think. And Alex Morono, I don't remember when it was, but recently he had his ass beat by Carlos Leal, a guy who just came forward and just kind of threw heavy heat, a lot of punches on him, and it was kind of like inevitable. Like, when is Alex Morono gonna get knocked out? But Alex Morono's a tough motherfucker. He looks like he should be working a desk job. He's not very athletic, but he's a dog. He's a dog. And this turned into a decent scrap. Morono had his moments. I think he rocked Donchenko a couple times. And yeah, I had Donchenko by round 1 knockout, but we didn't get it here. Next up, we have Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is a tough motherfucker, but Dante Johnson should have clipped him because he was coming off the KO loss to Cam Rowson 6 weeks earlier, I think it was. This was March 7th, this fight. Cam Rowson versus Cody Brundage was January 31st. So about 5-6 weeks in between. Dante Johnson's bad performance and gay stance made me, and I feel a lot of others, like, lose faith in him as a prospect. Like, he was like that stance where he's like, I don't know, it was like weird. And I wasn't like high on him before, but I feel like as a prospect, I'm like, yeah, you could go, bro. Especially middleweight, you have like Pinas, you have Atiba Gautier, like we just talked about, Marco Tulio, like a lot better prospects in this division than Dante Johnson. Next up, we have Montas Kondratovicius versus Antonio Tricoli. Tricoli is a poker player before MMA fighter. I'm pretty sure by his own words he said that before. He's actually better there anyways. He's won a lot of money. And for me, this fight kind of showed that Montas is still super green and needs a lot of work. Like his striking, he was just kind of wailing a lot. You know, his wrestling, grappling didn't look great. His cardio didn't look good. He's 26, so it shows he definitely needs a lot of improvement. But it was, again, like those Contender Series guys. Like, yes, they get a round 1 knockout, but it's Contender Series. Like, this mismatch, a lot of them are mismatches. There's not many great back and forth fights that you see on Contender Series. So I don't know. I'm not too high on Montas either as a prospect. I never was. I didn't really know too much of him. I think I missed his Contender Series fight, but nothing crazy. I'm not gonna be excited for his next fight. Blah blah blah. And lastly, we got Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. Felipe Franco stepped up on short notice and also got subbed on Dana White Contender Series. Plus, he's undersized. So a lot of things not in his favor. He's not very good. He's small, short notice, because Pinto was supposed to fight Mick Parkin. And Everyone thought he was just going to run through this guy. He had pretty good performances. He did look a little shaky against Austin Lane, but, you know, the fight with Jonathan Deniz he showed his wrestling well. His ground and pound was really good. And here in this fight, he just looked like kind of like passive, very passive, and I don't know, worried of getting knocked out or worried of throwing. It was a very stinky fight, and honestly, he lost his best heavyweight prospect title to Bruno Pericic, who was on the same card against Louis Sutherland. I think Pericic looked very good. I think for the guys outside the rankings, obviously you have Hackett, who's kind of just turned himself into a contender immediately. So he's number 5 now. I think these guys showed the best. Like these guys are the 2 best heavyweight prospects. I would give it to Breno right now. I still have faith in Murapido. I still think he's gonna be very good, but just as of right now, I'm a bit higher on Breno Perich, especially fighting out of CKB. That's a very good gym. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll be live tonight, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, with my boy Alex or Knuckles MMA, and then also Thursday I'm probably gonna release a new video, biggest goobers in the UFC. So see ya.